The Powerpuff Girls, the show that never escapes my mind. So I just came back from a law test and I was thinking, what will my next review be about? So I gave it a long thought and suddenly, actually I just thought, why not the Powerpuff Girls movie? This movie is underappreciated. This movie is a favorable movie of mine and I think a lot of people don't give this movie the praise it deserves. Except the MNO community. You guys are the best. Of course, I'm not saying this is a movie that should stand above all animated and superhero movies. Nope, it has its weak points. However, I want to give this movie the appreciation it deserves. So this movie tells the story of when the Powerpuff Girls were born and their journey before they became the recognizable heroes they are. The movie was patient to give more focus on the girls without necessarily trying to pretend the girls are complex. The girls have the same simplicity as in the show, but they still find a way to give us a relatable story from their perspective. Perhaps a little too long, but I'll get to that later. The story they told was unnecessary. I mean, come on, was an origin story needed? What exactly was achieved by watching this movie? We knew the girls were created by Sugar, Spice, and everything nice. We knew Townsville was probably hopeless before the girls came, and we know Mojo's a menace. Regardless, that didn't change how the story was kind of well told. How they handled the professor's reaction after the girls were born was great. Watching the girls use their powers while others were amazed was pretty cool. I like the part where Townsville discusses the property damage done by the girls and how the citizens were alienating them. It fits well with the superhero parody the show has as a characteristic. Let me remind you that this movie was released before Batman vs Superman and The Incredibles. The movie has a darker tone than your usual Powerpuff Girls episode, and while I can't imagine that bothering people, it didn't bother me at all. As long as the story they're telling requests a darker tone in order to work, I'm pretty much okay with it. And while it would be better if the movie had been quirkier to fit the Powerpuff Girls' usual formula, I see this as just another chapter of the Powerpuff Girls that has its own take on it, without steering away from the fact that this is a cartoon about 3 little girls who fight crime before bedtime. Speed Demon also has a darker tone than most Powerpuff Girls episodes, but because the story they were telling worked with a darker tone than usual, I find a way to enjoy it. The movie contains one of the best Powerpuff Girls scores ever. It has original scores and they all work in the context of the scenes and has the same style as the rest of the Powerpuff Girls scores found in this show. The visuals were pretty great. I wouldn't say it's better than what Disney does, but it looked pretty good. The action in this movie was also pretty spot on. The scene where Buttercup punches someone for the first time was pretty cool. They used the same punch sound effect found in the show, which gives me the chills. Mojo Jojo was, well, Mojo Jojo. He was being portrayed here more as a straight up villain than a comedic villain, which for me it's fine. As long as I still recognize him and be engaged, it doesn't bother me that the tone is darker. Regardless the problem the movie has, it drags on way too much. Like, this could have easily been told at a shorter time, but I guess they had to reach 1 hour and 50 minutes to release it on theaters. So they stretched out the story more than they should have. The movie also needed to be a little funnier. Like, I know what they were going for, but I think they shouldn't have ignored the fact that the Powerpuff Girls is a comedy. Also, Mojo Jojo's motivation was kind of strange. He said he wanted to revive his animal kind to proclaim their place in the world. Since when Mojo Jojo has cared about other monkeys? They could have just kept with Mojo Jojo feels alienated and angry at the world because of that, and that Mojo Jojo is a jerk. The whole apes and monkeys thing just should have been scrapped. Also, if they wanted to take a more serious tone, maybe they should have explained where the chemical X came from and how the professor came up with Antidote X. That isn't a problem in the show because it adds to the quirkiness, but it doesn't work here. The movie wants to be more serious than the Powerpuff Girls TV series, but to the point where some quirky aspects just won't work as much as in the show. All in all, I think this movie only works if you accept the darker tone. It's not that the movie is dark like, say, The Dark Knight, but it has a darker tone than what you would expect from the Powerpuff Girls. Because I'm very familiar with the Powerpuff Girls, I'm okay with watching a darker take on the franchise. However, next time they release the Powerpuff Girls movie, I would appreciate a more comedy-oriented film. Still, I really like this movie. It's not one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, it's not one of my favorite animated movies of all time, but it's one I treasure immensely as a Powerpuff Girls fan. Anyway, subscribe if you want to watch more of my content. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye for now.
Sometimes I try to imagine a world without Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. What fun would that be?